Thanks to Sana Skin Studio for supporting the No podcast. Sana is a skin studio that is shifting the relationship with your skin and your products through goal-driven facials, real guidance, and clean skincare. Stay tuned for our promo code so you can receive $25 off of your first facial at Sana Skin Studio. Welcome to the No podcast with me, Nikki Spo.
Welcome, everyone. You are listening to The Know, where it is not about knowing everything. It is about coming to know ourselves. I am your hostess, Nikki Spo, and I am happy you're joining me today for a great conversation with a wonderful beauty and wellness expert. But before we hop into this convo, don't forget to subscribe to the show. And if you are feeling called to, it would mean the world to me if you left my show a 5-star rating and a review. Right, so Shiri Sarfati is a beauty and wellness expert as well as a licensed esthetician. She is the founder of 23 Skin, a beauty brand based on natural and clean ingredients that provide spa quality results at home, and is a partner and executive vice president of her family-owned professional skincare brand. She has been quoted and featured in Ocean Drive magazine, The New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Beauty Independent, and on CNN, CBS, and Fox, and has authored articles for Observer.com and ThriveGlobal.com. She is a passionate and knowledgeable presenter and has been invited speaker to aesthetics conferences around the world. Shiri earned a master's degree in cosmetic and fragrance marketing and management from the Fashion Institute of Technology. And as a native New Yorker, she now lives in Miami with her husband and 2 children. Shiri wants women to feel amazing about their skin, and she aims to help people get healthy skin through good skincare practices, at-home care routines, and professional treatments. Her thought is that we don't need to buy into the societal pressures of looking perfect, and that skincare should be about wellness and feeling good and glowing from the inside out. I love this so much. So with that, let's get started with Shiri Sarfati. Welcome, Shiri. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk. We were talking about this before, but I cover a lot of really heavy topics on this show, and it's just so nice to be able to talk about things with a little more levity and excitement, and especially in the space of wellness and skincare. I think as women, a lot of us feel a lot of pressure to be beautiful based on what society deems as such. And I think instead of feeling upset or angry or like having some sort of like animosity towards it, we can find our own way and determine what that feels like for us as individuals. So I'm going to be really interested to hear what you have to say. But before we get into that, how did you even get into the skincare space? I know that you mentioned that your family has a beauty brand that you are the executive vice president of. So how did that come to happen?
So my mother actually founded her company in 1980. So I was just a baby.
Kudos to her. Clap it up for a working mom who kicked ass.
Hustling mom. She worked tirelessly, growing up. I was always around the business. So it was kind of like she had her own spa in Manhattan and I'd be there by her side. I remember even being your kids' ages, 5 and 6, and I had no idea I was giving a hand massage to like the beauty director of Vogue at the time. I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to be around it. And at the time she was building up a professional skincare line called Repechage. She was traveling a lot, which exposed me to international travel at a very young age. So
how amazing is that?
By the time I was like 23, I had already visited over 25 countries. It was always around business, right? There was pleasure involved in the trips as well, but I was already being exposed to international distribution, trade shows globally, and just participating. And I think that growing up in an entrepreneurial environment led me to be very entrepreneurial. I feel like being an entrepreneur is a mindset. So at first she had an office in Manhattan and she was growing out of the office. And in 2000, they bought a building in New Jersey. So about 9 miles from Manhattan, where I grew up. I grew up in Manhattan. And we started building out manufacturing in the US. So for now, over 23 years, we're USA-based manufacturers. So we own and operate a 50,000 square foot manufacturing facility laboratory, research and development laboratory. We do our own raw ingredient extracts. So we sustainably harvest our seaweed off the coast of Maine, and we do our own proprietary extraction process. So everything from the raw ingredients all the way through to final manufacturing all happens under one roof. And today we're a global entity. We're in over 50 countries around the world. So when I was little, when I was 4 years old, I fell in love, 4 or 5 years old, I fell in love with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And anyone asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? My canned answer was always, I want to own a chocolate factory, just like Willy Wonka.
I'm like, did you want to be Willy Wonka? You're like, I want to be Willy Wonka.
And today I feel like Willy Wonka, except instead of chocolates, it's skincare, but I still love my dark chocolate.
I love that. So you mentioned something that stood out to me is that you were exposed to an entrepreneurial lifestyle from the time you were a child. Like that is very foreign to me. Like I grew up in a home where my mom was a part-time substitute teacher and my dad was a firefighter. So like essentially they both like worked for the government. We lived a very modest, safe, predictable lifestyle, which is much different than being an entrepreneur. And so now for myself, as I am an entrepreneur, right? I'm like, I don't have a lot of immediate examples of like what that looked like in my life. And I'm kind of having to like scrap it together. And something that you said that I want to point out that I think is so key is that being an entrepreneur is a mindset.
100%.
What is that mindset?
You're kind of wired differently. Some people are just, very, I don't want to say comfortable. They're comfortable in, having the W-2 at the end of the year, paying their taxes and having a family vacation, and they're content. They want that stability.
Right. That was my upbringing. And like, I'm not knocking it either. Sorry. Like, I'm not knocking it. Like, that was my upbringing. It was nice. We went on vacations. We went on multiple family vacations. It was like safe and predictable.
Correct. And that's great. I mean, when you take the leap to become an entrepreneur, nothing is given. Like, you do not know where your next paycheck is coming from. You do not know, if you hire people, if you can pay them, or, if you're going to make payroll every single week. So, and especially as you grow your business and you scale your businesses, those realities become very intensified. We are a completely independent, family-owned and run business. So we don't have outside investors, and cash flow is a big thing when you're independently owned and run. And we have today over 50 people that work in our company, and their families rely on us every single week, right? There is that sense of responsibility, right? Because you're not only now responsible for yourself, but you're responsible for others. And that risk, right? There's definitely a risk involved. And entrepreneurs are always saying how they feel like they're always running. They're always on the go, right? They're always, because they always feel like there's someone behind them that is going to come and get them. And it's not that, it's just that mindset of you have to constantly be changing, evolving, being in a company that's been around for over 40 years. I mean, we've seen it all. I mean, I remember I was starting my career and my family business in 2001, like right after 9/11, and the world was upside down. And then in 2008, we had a huge economic depression. Every time something happened, what was great is that we weren't so huge. We were small and nimble enough that we could immediately respond, immediately adapt, immediately change. So I remember in 2008, when everything kind of collapsed under our feet, rents were skyrocketing in New York, and then businesses were going out, and we said, who's going in for a $350 facial, right? Like our clients, right. What are we going to do to support our clients? And at the time, what we decided to do is say, let's create a facial bar concept. We really almost created this category for our spa clients to say, run with this concept. You're going to do quicker, more express treatments that are more affordable, but you're going to get your clients in quicker, maybe weekly instead of monthly. And it really becomes an affordable luxury and something that you do on more of a regular basis. We really wanted to transform the idea of taking care of your skin as something I do on only special occasions. Skincare is a part of healthcare, and it's a part of hygiene, it's part of personal care, and it's something that you can do for yourself on a regular basis. And honestly, today, we see so many of these types of concepts. So I'm really happy to see that movement grow, especially in spa wellness and skincare.
Yeah. And I think like what you're talking about when in regards to 2008, we saw it happen in COVID, right? Like how many people were now buying skincare to do at home, like nail kits to do their nails at home, like to everything I was buying was like, so I could maintain myself at home.
What was incredible about that is that almost 2008 had to happen because people started taking care of themselves more. But then COVID hit. Now we already knew about going out to take care of ourselves, but now we were bringing it home. And that was a whole paradigm shift as well, especially in our industry, as many of our spas just couldn't open their doors. Right. And so we had to give them tools to say, well, what can you do? How can you help become almost this skincare consultant where you can do virtual skincare sessions with your clients to keep them engaged and offer them professional skincare and results that they can do at home. So what really became very popular during COVID were all of our tools, like our beauty tools. So like our handheld LED device, EMS skin sculpting, all of these professional aspects that we can bring to our clients at home. It doesn't take away from the professional experience. It actually brings our clients closer to it, because if you're taking care of your skin on a regular basis, you understand the importance of it, and you're more likely to also enjoy going into the spa and having someone else do it for you from time to time as well.
So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because I know that I have a lot of entrepreneurs who listen to this show, I'm really interested in learning how you pivoted. Now, and I want to give you like a small example from my own personal life. Like me starting this business, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not familiar with like the entrepreneurial lifestyle, as I mentioned, right? And I've had people who've bet on me, like who've doubled down on me, believe in what I'm doing, and thank goodness they've been able to, like, they believed in me and it worked. Like their belief in me worked. But then I'm like, okay, now my business grew. So now I feel you when you talk about like the running like someone's chasing you. I've had to really broaden and scale myself. Like, okay, well, what else? What are my other services? I am a mediator. I moderate panels. I, host IMC events. Like these are the other things that I do that is the product. In your skincare world, right? How do you pivot and say, okay, this is no longer our product. We have to figure something new out.
Yes. And those changes are really hard to do sometimes, because sometimes they go against some of your core values that got you to your original place.
Okay, exactly. And that's hard.
It's very hard. It takes courage to do, because you can say, oh, I can completely alienate the group of followers, right, that have bought into my product or my service or have started listening to me by doing this one thing. But I know in my gut that I have to do this thing in order to push me to the next level.
It's so crazy. I'm going through something like that right now where I'm like, I can do this one thing that will give me a much bigger platform. Do I want to do this one thing? And I'm really wrestling with myself right now, because I'm like, I know that I could help more people. Ultimately, the goal is to help more people, right? Like, for you and your line of work, you want to help more people take care of themselves. Like that's the end goal. So what are we willing to do to get there? And how does that bump up and cause friction between our brand ethos, our own integrity, and the ultimate brand mission?
Well, I also think that, sometimes obviously we have these environmental stressors, and we really have to dig deep and say, what do I need to do at this moment in order to accelerate and know where I'm heading towards? And those pivots are game changing. Sometimes it's these shared experiences, kind of these shared universal truths that we're all experiencing. And sometimes they're a little more micro. Sometimes there are specific situations that happen to us as individuals. For example, when I first moved down here to Miami because of my great network of alumnas that I graduated with in my master's degree program at FIT. Someone knew that they were looking for a marketing executive at a beauty company down here in Miami, and my name rose to the top of the pool. And suddenly I'm in this interview. And at the time, I really wasn't. I was consulting at the time. I really wasn't looking for an interview. But I always also think never say no. Just go, right? Just show up, and it's great. So I'm at this interview, and I end up across this female executive. And we're chatting and we're talking, and it seems like this is going to be great. And suddenly she said, "What made you move to Miami?" And I just tell her candidly, I had my 2 boys in New York City, and we are literally just busting at the seams. I think like I had to crawl over 3 strollers just to get into my apartment at the time. And the person sitting across the table from me who was interviewing me for this job just went blank and was like, "Oh, you're a mom? Oh, I didn't realize you were a mom. Yeah, we don't really do well with moms here. I mean, it's such an intense environment. I mean, we have one mom who works for us, but it's really difficult for her. I mean, coming from New York, coming from working with and living side by side with my mother, who was such an inspiration, who did it all. I just couldn't understand what I was hearing. I just did not understand how this person could even say these words to me. I mean, forget about the legality of the whole thing. And I walked out of that interview. I remember calling up the headhunter, and I was like, "You're lucky. I am entrenched in the beauty world. I know a lot of people in the industry, but I'm not going to do anything. But you should coach people on what they can and cannot say in an interview process." I'm like, what the fuck? Like, right? I'm like, can you imagine? This is like my first kind of corporate job experience, in Miami. I have to say that moment, I was like, I don't want to work for anyone, unless it's my own family business or I'm going to start my own thing. And that was really the impetus for me founding 23 Skin, because I said, you know what? I just want to do it on my own. I just, pivoted. Just taking that one example was like, okay, stop.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for doing that. But clean beauty is like it's like buzzing, right? Like clean beauty that I find personally, in my opinion, that it's become like borderline untrustworthy. Like you still really need to dig deep on the clean beauty stuff and like defining what that is. How do you navigate that?
When I originally started the line, I basically said, I didn't even call it a clean beauty line. I actually called it a do-it-yourself skincare line. I originally launched just with high ingredients that are powders. So powder formulations where you mix the water and you create your own scrub.
I have something like that. I actually have something like that where I create my own like little serum with a powder and a this and a that.
Exactly. Because the truth of the matter is the second you introduce water into a product, you have to preserve it. There has to be a preservation ingredient or you're going to grow mold. You're going to end up infecting many, many people that buy your product. So I just kind of said, well, why not do what we do in the treatment room? Because what we do in the treatment room is we literally have powders and liquids that are all sealed. We open them up and we mix them in a rubber mixing bowl, and then we apply them on the skin. And I said, how do I take that idea and bring it to that busy mom who doesn't have time? And really my ritual became my nighttime skincare routine. Like when the kids were sleeping, they were in bed, the lights were out, I was like, oh, I finally have some breathing space.
Totally.
And that's kind of where it started. And now I'm moving in towards like one of our, you said this yourself, sometimes you're like, some of the people that embrace you very early on, they're the ones to, create the wind beneath your wings. And very early on in launching my company, I had some incredible celebrities and influencers just organically start talking about it. I had no idea. So one day I'm getting an email through my website and it's like, Shiri, you're completely sold out on Amazon. I'm like, that's impossible. I just sent in a huge shipment to Amazon. That can't happen. I'm still this startup. And she's like, well, on the first page of today.com as Camila McConaughey's favorite natural skincare product. And I was like, wait, what? What just happened? I had no idea.
Girl, Shiri, we just met here and I'm so happy for you. Like, I love this for you. I love this for you. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I just had no idea that was even happening. I had no heads up and it was so organic. And it's like, those are the moments where you're just like, yes, I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right thing. Keep going, pushing yourself. And then COVID hit. So for me, COVID was a really tough time for kind of my startup because at that moment, I felt obligated to go and really focus on my family business and not put so much time and attention in my own line.
Why? Because that was safer?
It wasn't safer. I felt the need to help, to just go in and help and make sure that the brand was going to survive.
Yeah.
All of our spas closed. So all of our clients that were buying spa products were no longer able to purchase products. And what I did, I shifted the brand and really doubled down on online sales. And the internet sales really exploded at that time, but it was just me. I had no team. It was just me sitting there in the front of the computer till 3 a.m. It was a wild, wild time. And I now have some breathing room, bringing back my team together and now going in and kind of realigning with 23 Skin and actually taking that product that Camila Alvis McConaughey really loved, which was this raw seaweed powder. And I took the recipe, the do-it-yourself recipe, and made it into a bar soap.
This conversation is so good, but before we keep going, I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Sana Skin Studio. The best way for me to describe Sana is that it feels like coming home. Unlike traditional facials, Sana's facials are rooted in education, and I love this so much. Every experience I've had at Sana has been a chance to learn more about my skin and its needs. I love that the facials are effective while also being accessible enough to be a monthly ritual rather than a yearly splurge. I'm honored to be able to provide our audience with a promo code. Use the code THENOGLOW for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com.
You said something that stood out to me. Pay attention to wins, right? So like Camila McConaughey loves your stuff. That's a win. What's the importance of paying attention to the wins, no matter how big or small, in like staying motivated to stay true to your mission, to keep going with your mission? And like, how do we see them in a world that is so competitive?
Honestly, it is tough. It's kind of like you get the small win and then you're like, okay, what's the next win? Like you're never satisfied, right? And it's true. I'll be honest with you. Me being on your podcast right now is a win for me.
I love that.
It is important to celebrate those wins because those are what lead you to the next win or the next big thing. And I'm really, fortunate to say that you have to ask for it. If you don't ask, you're not going to receive, right?
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah. You can't just sit back and say, oh, I wish I was on that podcast. It's like, no, you got to chase it, girl. You got to go out and get it. And the more you do of it, the better you get at it, right? Like I also feel a lot of people say, I'm so timid to talk. I can't do so and so and so. And I just stop saying you can't do it. I'm going to help you get there, right? Even for me, getting in front of doing social media sometimes is a struggle. It's not, I want to do it. I feel like I'm good at it, but it takes those people that are cheerleading you on and saying, Shiri, yes, the content you're dropping is great. We love your advice. We want to hear more of it. So keep going. And those people are the ones that are rooting for you. So just keep surrounding yourself with those cheerleaders.
What about facing like when you're in a rut? Like, how do you get out of the rut? Like when you just get like so many hits, how do you find the inspiration to pull yourself out of that?
You have to love on yourself too. You have to believe in yourself and have people around you that believe in you. I mean, I have to say my husband, he's like my partner in life and my business partner and everything partner. And he's the one who's also being my champion. He's like, you got this. Go do it. You can do it. Don't worry. Or, if I have to go on a trip or I have to go in front of people and I can't be there maybe at home or with the kids or something, he's there to say, you do what you need to do and I'm going to help you here where you need some support and help. And finding that relationship is really important because you end up uplifting each other at the end of the day, but you're really helping each other get through it. And listen, I went through some health complications. It really stopped me dead track. And I said, oh my God, what is happening? I've always been healthy and vibrant and something just stopped me in my tracks health-wise. And I said, I have to figure out what's going on. And I called my sister and she was like, you need to see an acupuncturist. I was like, oh, okay, great. I know one in Miami. I'm actually really good friends with Dr. Elizabeth Trotner out of Helia House. And I was like, I'm going to call her. And I just started going for acupuncture sessions. I'm just taking that time to do something for myself and literally just sit in a room by myself with needles in my head and my feet and my stomach. But breathing, deep breathing, closing my eyes, I never get to do that. And that led me to start doing other things, right? So sometimes it's like taking care of one health thing leads you to do other things. And I signed up for Pilates classes all of a sudden. I'm reaching out to my estheticians that I work with and I'm booking treatments with them. Like maybe I don't always have to be working. I can also treat myself. We're in the spa and wellness world, but are we fully taking advantage of it? Are we walking the walk? And sometimes something, happens to you that makes you shift and say, I need some self-care.
I hope that everything's okay with your health.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. And, being a person for me who what I promote is essentially my brand, right? Like I am the product. I definitely find myself like having to walk the talk, right? Like the things that I talk about, I'm like, you better be ready to back this up with your actions, girlfriend. I can totally relate to that. And you mentioned something about partnership. And I want to mention that the bread and butter, the people, my demographic that listens to the show is split pretty evenly between, it's like 30% and 30%. It's the 25 to 35 age range and the 35 to 45 age range. These people, mostly women, based on the data that I collect from hosting these shows, are getting married. They are having children. They are raising children. So when you talk about having a partner who is supportive, I think that is so key. Because if you don't have a partner who's able to do that for you, like a person could feel very alone in the world. And I want my listeners to hear that, and it's okay to say to your partner, I need more from you right now. Whether that's in the parenting space, whether that's in the workspace, whether that's in leveling the playing field of how we're going to make a family unit work, right? Because every family unit has its own set of rules. As more and more women are joining the workforce and we see more and more women who are like, I would like to do something outside of the home. Maybe it's start a business and maybe it starts off as a hobby that turns into a business, and then that business starts taking off and picking up steam. You really do need supportive partner, family members, whatever, like friends who are in your life to say, I believe in you and I think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And look, we don't really we're a pretty small family unit because we moved down to Miami. My husband's family's in Toronto. My family's in New York. And so we moved down here. This is it. Like we got to be super strong for each other and I think it really made us stronger. And that was really an intense time in our life. But, then COVID hit. I feel like a lot of people either, sunk or swim, right? They were either stronger or they got divorced. Like there was a lot of that in my friend pool as well. I've had several relationships throughout my 20s. And I remember writing a list, right? Like I remember my friend coming back from some retreat and she was like, oh, you have to write a list and you have to put down everything that you want from your partner. So I wrote the list and my initial list was everything about the person that I want to meet, right? It was, I want someone tall and, they should be well-traveled and smart and, just all these superficial things, right? And I met that person and I was with them for quite some time. And I realized that person was not right for me. Like, thank goodness nothing came out of it at the end. And I came to the realization, I mean, I remember at one point saying, oh my God, I can't imagine, like, I'm doing so much in this relationship and I can't imagine having this person, like, introducing kids and doing the whole real life thing with this person because I'm exhausted. We broke up and I wrote a new list. I like brought my paper and pen down and I wrote the list and I said, I want to meet someone who is good to me, makes me feel beautiful, makes me feel loved, is a good person. And the whole list was about me. I wrote this girl.
I love this.
And I met that person, which is my husband, Lawrence. That is something I tell a lot of young women that are looking to be in a relationship. Really, it's not about them. It's really about you and how that person makes you feel. Because in the long run, that's what matters.
100%. So we're going to wrap up pretty soon, Shiri. But before we do that, I want to take some time to talk more about the beauty stuff, right? Because I've loved talking about all this entrepreneurial things because I think that's what people really want to hear. These listeners are they're like, how do I start this business? How do I sustain this business? How do I pivot in this business? But what are your thoughts on the ever-changing beauty standards of society?
They're different everywhere. When I initially moved to Miami, it's kind of like,
oh my gosh, it's probably so much different than New York.
So different than New York. It's kind of these impossible standards of beauty, I feel like, in Miami. It's like more is more, more is more, more is more. And the pressure is so real. I mean, I know I'm in the beauty industry. Yeah. I feel the pressure, oh, do a little tweak. Oh, do this, do that, and it's not that I judge people that do. It's fine if that's going to make you feel more confident. If it's coming from a place of, this is something I want to do and this is going to give me confidence. But I don't see that a lot of the times. I see my clients that do too much work, too much injectables, they're still not confident. It didn't give them any confidence. And so what I would love for people to do is just looking at themselves like, I look beautiful. My skin is glowing. I have my health. I feel vibrant. And from that place is where you will look vibrant. I feel like the most gorgeous people in the room are the people that have wonderful confidence, right? Like, who they are. They walk into the room and they look stunning because you're just like, I want what she's having. Like, what is she having? And that is that type of vibrancy that comes from within that you cannot get. Now, that being said, there are things that you can do at home to increase the health and glow of your skin. And like I started earlier saying, even just massage manipulation. I mean, I think a lot of people understand, oh, if I feel stressed, if I feel like I need something uplifting, I go for a body massage. But you can also do so much for your skin and the look of your skin by going in for facial massage and doing facial manipulation. It increases collagen, it increases the blood flow in your skin. And I work with plastic surgeons, in the aesthetic field. And a lot of the times what surgery does, right, is firm and tighten, but it doesn't give the skin that bounce and that snap that gives your skin that youthful glow. So a lot of that also is how you take care of yourself on a daily basis, right? I almost say this is like the example of going to your trainer, right? And you only go once a week and then you're like, oh, I'm not seeing results, right? So it really is about starting young, like start your kids on this, right? Like get your kids on a great hygiene routine. They will never think about it. Like my mother, I'll never forget, I went to a sleepaway camp and I had my 3-step skincare routine already. I was in the 4th grade. And I used to wake up 5 minutes before that morning bell went off to do my cleanse, my moisturization, and my SPF. And people were like, what is Shiri doing? Like, she's in 4th grade. Like, I was 9 years old. And it was so ingrained in me from such an early age that it never feels like a chore. So now it's like, I would never go to bed without doing my skincare routine. I would never wake up without doing it because it's part of my hygiene ritual and habits. And so create good habits early on, and you will never feel like you're taking care of your skin or that it's a chore.
People ask me all the time, what do you do for your skin? You know, and I go to, my title sponsor for my podcast is Sana Skin Studio.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with them. They are the first people to ever believe in me. Like, they're my ride or dies. Like, they're my road dogs. But I swear, like, they could put whatever they want on my face. I'm like, I'm here for you to massage my face.
Yes.
Like, the amount of relief that I feel when Gia massages and she like whacks my face, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. It's so much release. But full circle to say, like, the people who light up the brightest, to your point, are the people who have that confidence from within. And I think it is a full circle thing, because when you have that true confidence and self-love from within, you are better positioned to take better care of yourself, right? And then that breeds more confidence instead of a vicious cycle of neglect and lack of care and self-hatred, and then neglect, and then self-hatred and neglect. You're doing the reverse. You're saying, I love myself. I take care of myself. And because I take care of myself, I love myself. And it's this like beautiful, it can be a really beautiful cycle rather than a vicious cycle. And that's where the light comes from. And I think they work in tandem.
100%. And I love that you're going and getting your facial massage done by a professional. That's like my goal. Like, if everyone can do that.
She teaches me, you know, like, so I learn things, you know, and I love talking to them because they teach me, and I learn about the products. It's a beautiful, sacred space for me where I feel like I'm coming home. So yeah, it's part of my journey. They're part of my journey. I'm so excited, Shiri, that you have been able to come and share your knowledge and expertise, especially in this entrepreneurial space, through your skincare, right? Like, through your business, through what you're doing, and that people can sit here and listen to our conversation, hopefully learn a thing or two, and hopefully we'll have helped some people or motivated some people to, you know, to like kickstart their careers, kickstart that hobby of theirs that they could turn into a money-making business.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that you need to do is just take the leaps of faith. I mean, and it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, but it's worth it at the end. It's so satisfying. And if you love it, if you're in a niche that you love,
that's right,
it will never feel like work. I have to tell you what I did. I mean, we just had the craziest weather in Miami, right? Like, just storms and flooding and yada, yada, yada. I was taking the trains to get to one of our clients in Palm Beach, the PGA National Spa, for a sip and shop event. It took me 2.5 hours to get there just because there were so many train delays. And then I did not get home. And I left the event a little after 6. I did not get home till 10:30 at night. My kids stayed up for me because they were like, we want mommy to tuck us in. And they gave me the biggest hugs coming into the house. And I hadn't, you know, I was exhausted. I just wanted to crawl into bed, but I was like coming home, getting those big, delicious hugs and having them even wait up for me. And I know it's hard. We're burning a lot of ends to our short candlestick, but, you know, it is worth it because you love what you do and you come home to a loving environment, and it makes everything worth it.
Well, Shiri, thank you so much for your time. Where can our listeners find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Shiri Sarfati, and my brands they can find on 23skin.com and repoussage.com.
Awesome. All right, everybody, check her out. Thank you so much for listening. And Shiri, thank you so much for your time today. I loved our conversation.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it.
This podcast was brought to you by Sana Skin Studio. Be sure to use my code, TheNoGlow, for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. More than a skin studio, Sana is a movement towards healthier skin and self-love. Thank you so much for listening to The Know. If you loved this episode, go ahead and share it with a friend. Words are so powerful, and someone may need to hear what we covered today. And if you really loved this episode, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. Your comments are so important and valued, and they give other listeners insight on what to expect on The Know. You can connect with me personally via Instagram at Nikki Sap Spo and The Know with Nikki Spo. My hope for you today is that you are fearless in looking inward so that you can be your highest, most authentic self and go after the life of your dreams.